So, good morning, a very good morning to everyone. IEEE Power and Energy Society of NIT Warangal student branch welcomes you to the second day of the ongoing webinar series Impulse. I request every participants to keep their mic off in order to avoid any disturbance. Before we move on with the today's session, let's start off with the national anthem, national song for the day. And
वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् सुजला सुफला मलयज शीतला सस्यश्यामला मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् शुभ्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पुल्लकुसुमित द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्
thank you everyone. Now, I request Meghna to introduce the speaker. And over to you, Meghna.
Thank you, Prashant. A pleasant good morning to our STM guests and all the participants. Power and Energy Society of IEEE Student Branch warmly welcomes you to the second day of the Impulse webinar series. Today we are going to discuss about design optimization framework for solid state transformers. And why we'll start our Sunday by learning something new from an experienced academician and a researcher and a person with great immense knowledge. Our speaker has done his BTech degree from in electrical and electronics engineering from NIT Warangal in 2017 and received his PhD degree from Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering from National University of Singapore in 2021. He is currently a research fellow at National University of Singapore and an in-kind researcher at Berkeley Education Alliance for Research in Singapore. And his primary research interests include high efficiency and high power density power electronic converters, matrix converter based isolated bidirectional converter topologies, power electronics design optimization, and solid state transformer architectures. So, our speaker has also served as a reviewer for various IEEE Power Electronic Society journals and also has done as chair of the IEEE Joint Industry Application Society and Power Electronic Society student chapter at National University of Singapore. And he's also an organizing volunteer for IEEE conferences such as Energy Conversion Congress and Exposition Asia 2021 and IEEE International Conference on Sustainable Energy Technologies and Systems in 2019. He has also authored 5 peer-reviewed journal papers and 13 peer-reviewed IEEE conference papers. So his positive attitude and welcoming nature kept give us an encouragement to take over the session and continue. So I'd like to request and I'd like to welcome Dr. Jaideep Saha to continue and take over the session and give us a great knowledge about the design optimization framework for solid state transformers. Thank you, sir. You can take over the session.
Hello everyone, I'm delighted to see you all. So thank you Meghna and Prashant for your coordination. And so I'll start it. And I have come to know that majority of you might be from BTech and MTech. So I will give a quite comprehensive introduction regarding what my topic is. And then I will slowly, trickle down into a little bit of details which you will be able to enjoy. I hope so. So let me start it. So I'll be talking about the design optimization framework for solid state transformers. And here I'll be presenting a low computationally expensive approach. Sorry for the glitch. So first I'll give an introduction regarding the smart grid, which many of you might be knowing. Then the medium voltage grid interface, why do we need it and what is the significance of it? Then I'll talk about the concept of medium voltage AC to low voltage DC solid state transformer, medium voltage AC to low voltage DC design optimization framework with respect to the solid state transformer concept. Then some of the design optimization results and a scaled down experimental validation of the optimization framework and some conclusions. So yeah, if you look at the figure on the right, it basically gives a generalized representation of a smart grid with microgrids as building blocks. So we these days call this smart grid concept as energy grid 2.0. So now what are the salient features? The important ones are listed down here. And the first one is you need to have a decentralized or distributed energy generation, unlike the conventional grid where you have a top-down approach, right? You start from the generator, then transmission, then distribution. But here it need not be like that. Your generation can also be trickled down to the bottom of the hierarchy. Now, you would have a diversified nature of loads. That is, you're just not restricted to AC, but you have both AC and DC loads. And unlike the unidirectional power and information flow, here you have a bidirectional power and information flow. So these are some of the important things that you can keep in mind. And usually, microgrids, which are low voltage networks, are the building blocks of such future smart grids, or even they're coming up in the modern days at certain places. And the key thing for economic and efficient operation of microgrids is that we need to have architectures that avoids multiple energy conversions and thus save up in terms of losses. Now, microgrids need to be interconnected to each other. It may be interconnected to each other, or it may be interconnected with a grid, which is usually at a higher voltage. So usually microgrids are low voltage networks, as I said, but your utility grid, it is usually in the kilovolt range, right? So you need interconnection facility for that. Now, if you look at this figure here, at the interconnection point of these microgrids with the smart grid, you need a controllable sort of junction, which is known as the energy control center. So maybe you have studied you have studied power systems and you have done power flow analysis and all. So there you would see that you would control the P and Q, right, of each bus. So that is basically what it is going to do, but it has to be more controllable. So in case of normal transformers or feeders, you have a discrete control, but here you need more continuous and bidirectional control. So the main objectives would be to have active power flow control, then reactive power flow control and harmonic compensation. Then you need to have a good control over the DC bus, the intermediate DC bus, where you integrate the renewables and battery energy storage. And the microgrid control during islanding or grid connection is also very important based on the amount of energy you have within your microgrid. And then the information sharing between the microgrid and rest of the smart grid network. So these in a way captures some of the basic points or fundamental points about the smart grid. Now let me narrow it down a bit. We are going to focus on the medium voltage grid interface. So the generalized schematic of hybrid AC-DC microgrid is shown here. So usually such microgrids are few hundreds of kilowatts to few megawatts, and then it gets interfaced with the utility side medium voltage AC grid, which is a few kilovolt to few hundreds of kilovolt. And in the modern scenario or the modern paradigm of power systems or in the future, microgrids are not going to be just DC because you have a lot of solar penetration and energy storage penetration. So you need to have a DC subsystem, and obviously you'll continue to have some AC loads and wind farms, etc. If you so it's always going to be hybrid at most scenarios. So that is what we have to target. So some of the examples of such hybrid AC-DC microgrids can be, a cluster of commercial buildings having some renewables, then green data centers, which is talked about a lot these days. And you also need to have a medium voltage AC to low voltage DC interface, which needs to have a galvanic isolation on one hand, and also you need to have a step down in the forward direction and a step up in the reverse direction, right, of the voltage, I mean. And you should have the ability to integrate both the AC and DC subsystems. So this kind of a network that I have shown here as a schematic is a sort of high level schematic diagram that you can think of. And there would be a tie converter which would interface between the AC and DC subsystems of the microgrid. Now the question is, how should these MVAC LVDC interfaces be realized, or what kind of architectures should be available? Right. About that. So coming to the conventional strategy where you use on-load tap changer transformers. So you would usually have a discrete control over the voltage and thus the reactive power. So here, one of the very well-known things is that they are quite robust and reliable. The power flow control, it is disadvantageous because it is discrete and unidirectional. Also, another disadvantage is that because of the low frequency isolation, it is quite bulky and would take quite a lot of floor space. Now, if you need to have a DC subsystem as shown here, you anyway need power electronics, right? So even if you have a low frequency transfer, you need to have a back-to-back converter system so that you can take out a DC bus. Now, there are some concepts that have emerged in the last decade or so, and it has also been realized, which is known as the solid state transformer. So it is nothing but it would have a medium frequency isolation for providing the galvanic isolation, and on either sides you would have power electronics, and these days they're going for wide bandgap power electronics like silicon carbide MOSFETs and all, so that you can have a good efficiency as well as power density. Now, here it usually negates all the disadvantages that the OLTC transformer-based solution would have. So you can have continuous and bidirectional power flow control. Then the DC subsystem for renewables is easily possible, and the medium frequency isolation is making the whole architecture much less bulkier. So in terms of reliability and robustness, you can obviously incorporate in the design in terms of redundancy and also some inherent reliability if you are able to include. And here there has been some recent studies which shows that in terms of cost, if you need a DC subsystem, then the SST based or the solid state transformer based solution and the OLTC transformer based solution are quite comparable in terms of cost, but in terms of volume, weight, and losses, solid state transformer is clearly a winner. If you need a these are the most well-known medium voltage AC low voltage. So first one is the isolated backend, where first you have a AC to DC rectification stage followed by a second harmonic ripple filter in terms of, and then you have a DC-DC dual active bridge. Now, what are the drawbacks of this? So you would have lower efficiency because of two-stage conversion, and you have low power density. And why is it so? So you need a bulky electrolytic capacitor here, which needs to cancel the second harmonic ripple, right? If it's a 50 hertz here, then you need to filter out the entire 100 hertz ripple. So if you do the calculations, it will be quite bulky and the most bulky element in your entire topology. So due to the same reason of electrolytic capacitors, which are also failure prone, so the reliability will also be pretty low. Now, if you come to the isolated front-end topology, so this is a single-stage topology, so you can have higher efficiency, and then the second harmonic ripple is completely transferred to the LVDC grid, right? Now, three phases would similarly have their ripples transferred to the LVDC grid, but from the three phases, they are mutually 120 degrees phase shifted, right? Even the this second harmonic ripple. So when they add up, they inherently get cancelled. Automatically, they get cancelled, and thus you do not need an extra bulky filter over there. So you can have a higher power density and higher reliability. So both the two-stage isolated backend topology and the single-stage one we have implemented at our lab over here. So the first one here is the two-stage one. So you have boost PSC rectifier on the front end. Then you have a bulky capacitor, and after that you have a DC-DC dual active bridge. Now you also have a tie converter as shown. So that actually connects the LVDC bus to the AC subsystem. So here you can see our experimental setup, just to give you a taste of the real life thing being done. And here is the single state solid state transformer for medium voltage AC to low voltage AC conversion. And here you can see that the AC-DC conversion is a single shot, single stage. So this is also experimental prototype, which details of our implementation over here. And now let us go one step further and look into the structure of such a single state solid state transformer. It need not be a single stage, even for the double stage one, you would have the same. So let me just point them out. So first one is the AC to DC single stage or double stage conversion. So this consists of conductor devices and isolating medium frequency transformer. And after that, you would have the bridge side inductor. So both these components have a lot of scope of you have a variety of semiconductor devices and cores, wires, and whatnot available. So you need to know, right, that let's say you have a certain specification on the grid side and certain specification on your hybrid microgrid side, then what is the most optimal design that you can do? Even if you're sitting at the industry, you need to know that. So the third component is the LVDC grid filter capacitor. So in case of single stage AC-DC conversion or LVDC LVDC conversion, it's just a fill capacitor, because here you just need to filter out the switching harmonics. And so this DC capacitor, it is actually quite uniform in terms of losses, or I would say it's quite linear in terms of losses as well as volume. So there is not much scope of optimization. It's quite uniform. So there's nothing much that you can do about it. You just, whatever you get at the market, you can just put it in because every company would do more or less the same thing. Now, so the major part of the optimization lies in the AC filter inductor and the submodule, right? Now let's come to the design optimization framework. I'll slowly take you through. While talking about the critical design objectives, it is the efficiency and power density, because I have told you earlier that these are the major scoring points, right, which a solid state transformer would be having over the low frequency transformer, the conventional transformer that we have. There are also curiosity regarding the objective of cost. That can you also optimize cost? Yeah, you can do it, but usually it is not done. Why? Because cost is a time variant as well as regional variant quantity, right? So something in US might not cost the same thing as in India. Something in 2018 might not cost the same in 2021. So in that case, if you have the quantity of cost or the objective of cost in your optimization, then it will jeopardize your critical design objectives of efficiency and power density. Now, we have also talked to companies like Siemens and ABB. Their foresight is that as long as the cost is somewhere around 9 frequency transform, which is usually around 40 US dollar per kVA, kilovolt ampere. So then they are fine with it. So they don't really care if it is a 38 or a 42 US dollar per kVA. So I think that gives a kind of clear idea about why we need to be a little careful about the critical design objectives that you choose. Now, let's say some industry or someone is quite confident that, okay, our product, we just want to make it available, over the coming 2 years or 3 years, and we just need to stick with the cost available, let's say in India. Okay, then obviously you can go with it. So you just have another more objective. So it's just an incremental addition. Now, the question is, what has been done so far in this scenario of solid state transformer design and optimization? So one of the research that is available is non-isolated cascaded edge bridge converters design optimization. So there the problem is much simpler because you just have semiconductor devices and no galvanic isolation. So you do not need finite element method, computations or any sort of numerical computations required. So this is well published, I think somewhere around 2017 or 18. Then somewhere around 2018 or 19, there's this group at ETH Zurich. What they have done is they have taken a dual active bridge converter, a DC-DC dual active bridge converter, and they have tried to find the efficiency and power density optimal design. Now, there they have used very heavy models, which are numerically intensive. And then the issue there is you need GPUs there to compute in a reasonable time frame, let's say a few hours time, but within a day. But as power electronic design engineers or students like you or PhD scholars like you, would you have access to GPU? No, right? It's quite expensive. So there is a need to find out a trick or some intelligent method where you can use your own laptops and within a day you'll be able to know that what is the most optimal design. So that is something that I tried to do as one of the chapters of my PhD. So here you can see in figure 10, I have tried to implement this machine learning aided optimization framework. So let me take you through slowly. Let's say we have a set of blocking voltages of the semiconductor devices, both on the primary, that is the front end side, and the secondary, that is the back end side. And you have a set of switching frequencies. Now, starting with this, let's start one iteration. So you take just one from each and we start it. And then you calculate the power per submodule that is required and the leakage, the grid inductor value that you need for meeting the IEEE 519 standard or any other standard per se. So that you have or meet the grid code as far as harmonic pollution is concerned. And then you do the local optimization both for the submodule and the filter inductor. Okay, now this local optimization is the guy who requires a lot of computational power. So if we can do a sparse local optimization, that is, we just take, basically these VB primary and VB secondary, these are semiconductor device combinations, right? On the primary side and secondary side. So these are anyway discrete. You have discrete number of devices, but the switching frequency, this, if you keep it continuous or quite, nearly spaced, then you'll have a very big matrix over here. So let's say we take a sparse set of switching frequency and we do this local optimization. So the data that you get out of local optimization, you can actually fit it into models. Or in other words, you can learn this local optimization so that you can keep the computational expense of the local optimization low. So now once you learn the optimal submodule design and the optimal filter inductor design, then you can have a more closely spaced or a bigger matrix, and you can just feed in the input to these machine learning models over here for the submodule design and optimal design. And as I talked about earlier, the DC filter capacitor is going to have a fixed model because there's not much scope of optimization. So you can just iterate over it and find the total loss and volume, and you can just store the designs, right? And then you can go over and over again. So out of this, what you will get is the optimal design limits for each combination of devices. So when I show the results, you'll be able to understand in a better way. So here I have considered a single stage medium voltage AC low voltage. Because qualitatively and quantitatively, it is already proved that it's going to give a better efficiency power density design. So I would not go into too much of mathematics. You can look at my thesis or the published papers. So there you can get the mathematics. What I will do here, I will show you just a flow chart and the important things in this workflow. So you can start with a set of electrical and design inputs, and then different data sets of wires, core materials, core dimensions, and wide bandgap device data set. And then you can start this iteration, and then you compute the various losses and the temperature hotspots. Then after that, you filter out some of the designs based on whether it is able to meet the design specification or not. Is it within the maximum allowable temperature or not? And after that, you calculate for that magnetic design, what is the loss and the volume of the other components that you are considering for this iteration. And once that is done, you can actually iterate it for different switching frequencies and select the most optimal design. So there is, quite rigorous algorithm for how to get a normalized eta row design or a normalized Pareto optimal design. So that you can look into the maths later. So out of that, you'll get certain parameters in terms of power loss and volume, and some of the other design parameters like what should be the leakage inductance over here, which is responsible for the power transfer, and the capacitors, what are the value that you need to have. Similarly, you can use the same technique to do it for the filter inductor as well, will be as shown. Now, two things to highlight is that here I am using finite element method or finite element analysis numerical computations only for a reduced number of combinations, because first I'm eliminating those designs which are not feasible in terms of temperature. Then I am seeing that using finite element analysis, I can very accurately calculate that what is the leakage inductance that you can get out of that transformer design, which is actually critical, because or else your power transfer either ways will be effective. So after that, at the end, you get this optimal design data set, which can then be procedurally learned by the machine learning algorithm. So let me take you through the optimization results, which might be more interesting for you to see. So first, I have divided this SST architecture on the basis of different combination of semiconductor devices that you can have on the front end as well as the back end. So the front end devices can be modules or discrete wide bandgap devices. So here I'm showing you in terms of silicon carbide master devices. So you can also do it with other devices, but because you know this silicon carbide devices are gaining a lot of popularity because it can give a good blocking voltage and also operate at high frequencies. So win-win situation. So here is the locally itero optimal designs for the submodule and AC filter for all the 6 categories. So this A basically shows for the submodules. So you can see that this red dots, it's a sparse set of local optimization for the submodule in category A, category 1, this one. Similarly for category 2, 3 to 6. Now then, for one of them, I am magnifying and showing you that how did I come to this point, or how did I get this most optimal design. So basically, you will be having thousands of design, um, uh, which will fall at different places in the efficiency power density plane. And then based on the normalized optimization engine that I have, I can choose this red star over here, right? Where you can get maybe in a normalized way, the best efficiency and power density at the same time. So then you can just map it back to this plane over here, and you can eliminate all these unnecessary designs or non-optimal design. So if you can visualize, basically this point over here is the start, and then you have a lot of designs over here which you are eliminating. So this is probably starting to give you a Pareto front, right? It is the most optimal design front, or if you choose designs along this front, you will be having the most optimal design. So similarly, you can think the same thing about the AC filter inductor design. So once this optimization is done, you can basically take all those 9 plus 3, 12 variables that I showed you earlier and train it using the machine learning models. So you can't just take any machine learning model, because here you have to see that the data set is low. So you need to choose such algorithms which are able to have low errors even for lower number of data sets. So what I have taken is the MLP, or multi-layer perceptron, support vector regression, linear regression, and lasso regression. Okay. So these are the things that I have taken, and I have plotted the models along with the original points so that you can kind of visualize which has the lowest error. Here I have shown only for the category 1. You can similarly do it for all the other 5 categories. So you can have a look at my thesis if you're interested. And then once this optimization is done, if you can remember the initial algorithm I showed, so then you can also add up all of them and then get the predicted loss and volume for all the 6 categories. Then you can also see the original points along with the machine learning model-based predicted loss as volume. So once this is done, I would also like to mention that while choosing the machine learning algorithms or the machine learning models, we have chosen those models for each of the variables which gives the least error, right? This is the mean absolute error. This is the root mean square error. So you can see the green boxes. This actually highlights the ones that have the least error. So once you choose that, then you can actually plot it over the efficiency power density plane for all the 6 categories for the entire solid-state transformer architecture. So here what you can see are the Pareto fronts in each category, right? So you can again visualize that there are actually many points over here which are non-optimal, and this basically gives the front or the optimal design limits. So you go outside this, then you will not have many points. You'll have some suboptimal points, but this is sort of the um, front or the limit where you can design your solid state transformer. Now here I have also shown a breakdown in terms of the losses and volumes at 3 points. So let's say this point is at 2 kilohertz design. So you slowly increase the so the 2 kilohertz design, I think you can see in terms of this peachish peach color bars. Then you slowly increase the frequency and keep having the optimal design limits. And then you reach something called this knee point. So here you see it looks like a knee, so it takes a turn. So with the power density increasing, it goes towards the right, and then suddenly it takes a turn. Now, at that knee point, I've also shown it in orange, and then the brown one is towards the end where the switching frequency is quite high, and so obviously you have more losses. So one of the interesting things that you should note here is that there are many people who say that, okay, for wide bandwidth devices, you can have a very high switching frequency, but that need not be true, because if you increase the switching frequency, your losses will increase, and obviously your magnetic components will become more denser. But then after that, after a certain point, your reduction in magnetic design or the magnetic components volume would be undermined by the increase in the heat sinks volume, because you are having more switching losses. So then it will start dominating. So you see this turnover here, right? So here you can understand that this category 1, which is having 1700 volt silicon carbide MOSFETs at the front end, is a more optimal design because it lies on the more on the top and on the right. So you have better efficiency at each points and better power density as well. So now the question is that where should you choose a design point or optimal design point on this entire Pareto front, right? So frankly speaking, you can choose it anywhere on this Pareto front based on whether efficiency is your priority or power density. But a good thing is that what we also agree with is that you can choose it near the knee point. Why? Because with a very less decrement in efficiency, you can get the best power density, right? So then maybe it's a more smart way to have a design over there. So here you can take a look at the mean absolute percentage errors in terms of loss and volume compared to the original points, and then the knee point specification. So we can choose a design over here near the knee point of category 1, which gives the best efficiency, power density, etc. Now, how to validate this framework, right? You can't bring in 1 MVA solid state transformer in the lab. So what I have done is I have built a scaled down version of this same transformer topology, and then used discrete devices and divided into 4 categories, and then repeated the same procedure. And I have got the Pareto fronts. Then at the knee point of category A, is it category A? Sorry, it's category B. So at the knee point of category B, I have considered it to be the best design. And then I have gone ahead with making a prototype. So the interesting point to note here is that you have the new point specifications here, and somewhere around 20 kilohertz, you are getting the most optimal design. And the laboratory prototype that we have built is giving quite similar results to um, the new design specifications. That is quite encouraging. So then this is the sort of schematic of the laboratory level prototype that is built. I have also shown the loss and volume breakdowns. If you're interested, you can see that they're quite close compared to the optimal design specifications. So guess what? It works. And the fabricated prototype is shown here. So here I have considered just 3 submodules because at lab level you have many challenges and constraints, so you need to take care of safety. So this can sort of give you a good validation of whatever is being proposed. Here there are also the components of the laboratory scale prototype if you are interested to know what are the devices that I have used exactly. So coming to the conclusions, the solid state transformer technology, it is progressing quite fast, and even I think many of you at NIT Warangal are working on EV charging. So this is the solid state transformer technology. I think it has already been recommended by the US Department of Energy to the Biden administration. And from 2022, if I know correctly, this company called Delta, they are going to have some installations across the highways in US, which are solid state transformer based. So you can watch out for it. And so yeah, just not to forget. So a EV charging station is also a microgrid, right? So you can also have solar and everything over there. And we have learned from here that the single stage conversion actually provides quite a lot of merits in terms of efficiency, power density, and reliability. And SST designs, which are silicon carbide based, actually can give 10 to 12 times improvement in power density. So you must have seen it is something around 6 kilowatt per liter. So in for low frequency transformers, it is usually less than 0.7 or something around that. So you have a gain of around 10 times. And if you use silicon IGBTs, then you get only about 3 to 4 times improvement. So it's quite interesting to look into the wide bandgap based designs. And here I have done a sort of comparative benchmarking of this machine learning aided hybrid local optimization. So the good thing about it is that it can keep both the error and computational burden low. So here I have given some numbers. So if you have a normal i7 16GB laptop that all of you or all of us have. So here, let's say we have some 768 datasets that you need for having the Pareto front. For a fully analytical that you just have just mathematical models, no numerical computation. So there you have quite high losses. But then with the i7 PC, you can do it in 76 hours. So for a fully numerical, obviously I couldn't do it, but I have done few iterations and then extrapolated it. So you can see that it will take about 2 years. Obviously, if you have GPU and access to all of that, you can reduce that. Now, if you have just a hybrid one, like if you remember my flow chart, so there I am using some FEA models, right? So for the 768 datasets, there also you need a lot of finite element analysis computations. So then that also is like taking about 2 months or something. There's also some extrapolated estimation. Now for machine learning aided hybrid one that I have done, I using a very usual, your 50,000 rupees laptop. So you can do it in about 4 to 5 days. So obviously if you have a better CPU or 2-3 laptops, you can do some parallel processing. So then it would come down, but yeah, you can have quite low of error, and within a reasonable time you can do it, which you couldn't do with the analytical model. If you have so much of error, then your optimal design point will shift, right? So your Pareto optimal curve wouldn't be correct. here are some of the publications. So this talk is based on the first journal paper here and the first conference paper. So you guys can have a look at it, and you will find all the mathematics over there. Thank you very much. And before I conclude, I had a proposition to all of you. If you would like to be interested about it. So I was thinking that from April or May, I would like to groom one BTech final year student and one MTech final year students. I don't care about GPA or anything, but if you are really interested about doing research and getting publications, then you can approach me and I can groom you during your final year project so that your final year project can become can be turned into a paper or you know into quite good of research work. So here you can see, I think in this conference paper too, many of you might be knowing Rishi Kumar Singh from your BTech final year. So he was working with me last year and then he got a paper with me. So if you are interested, we can have a small group over there, undergrad and grad group, and then we can do something. So it depends on your interest, but yeah, my bandwidth is limited, so I'll be able to groom only one BTech and one MTech. So yeah, I'll be very happy to have some of your questions.
Does anyone have any questions? If yes, please unmute yourself and ask. All right, since no one has any further doubts, I would like to proceed forward. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Prasanna Vittanala, and I am here to present the vote of thanks for today's webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Jaideep Saha for taking out time from his busy schedule and providing us an insightful session on design optimization framework for solid state transformer. The session was really informative, and I'm pretty sure that the precious knowledge we gained from the session will definitely help us in studies and future. We extend our immense gratitude towards Venkaya sir and Shivakumar sir for all the support and guidance. Lastly, but most importantly, we heartily thank all the attendants for paying attention and learning, without whom the session wouldn't have been possible. On concluding the event, I would like to request everyone to stand up in honor of our national anthem. Thank you.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I'm also open for some questions if some of you still have some questions.
Guys, you can type also your questions in the chat box.
Also, regarding my proposal, is there anyone here who is interested to, do a little bit of research or, you know? Prashant, how about your MTech friends? Anyone interested?
Sir, actually, I'm interested in the research.
Yeah, if people don't join in, then it's difficult, right? So maybe whatever I told, you can pass it on to the groups of
Yes, sir.
third year and MTech first year. That from May onward, I would like to groom one BTech and one MTech. So
Sir.
if they are interested, they can contact me.
Yes, sir. So MTech people should have a power electronics specialization or power system.
Yeah, I am more towards power electronics, but it's mostly grid connected. So it's kind of at the boundary. So
I'll circulate this message to everyone.
yeah, thank you so much for
Yes.
this help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. So I'm stopping the record
Okay.
and
So no
close the
more
session, sir.
questions, I guess. So you can share this video with me.
Yes. Yes, sir. I'll share this one recording with me.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. So then should we call it a day, or I don't see anyone asking any question?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, in solid state transformer, we are using most of the switches, no, sir.
You're using what? I couldn't hear you clearly.
Switches. Hello.
Using switches.
Yes, sir. In solid state transformer, we use most of the switches, no, sir, for bridges.
Okay, more, yeah, your voice I couldn't clearly understand. So more switches and solid state switches, you mean?
Sir, sir, in solid state transformer, we are using a rectifier bridge and a DC-DC converter, and then DC to AC converter, no, sir.
Yeah, that is for the isolated backend. Yeah, correct.
So the so many switching losses are occur in switches, sir.
Yeah, so here I actually explained, right? So if you need to have a DC subsystem, let's say you need to connect renewables and battery energy storage. So anyway, you need power electronics, right? Even if you use a low frequency transmit, you need a back-to-back converter. So then going with the solid state transformer, the good thing is that you would be able to have the isolation at medium frequency or high frequency. So your volume of the magnetic component would come down. So there has always been a study done to answer your question. So here you can see that if you need a LVDC bus or a DC subsystem integration, then in terms of losses, the solid state transformer is actually lower. Because you can use wide bandgap devices here, which you cannot use it here, or maybe modules are not available as of now. But yeah, even if you think of having wide bandgap devices at both sides, then also having soft switching and all of that at such a high voltage or high power, that is a challenge. So then losses, it would be at most equal to or lower in case of solid state transformer. But you are correct that if it is a AC to AC conversion, that time solid state transformers are not a good solution. If you don't need a renewable integration, then you should go for a transformer.
Okay, sir. So I saw one paper, soft switching solid state transformer.
My paper?
Soft switching solid state transformer.
Oh, okay. That I think S3 or S43.
S4T, sir.
Paper, right? So there use some reverse IGBTs or something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but that is I think it is a two-level converter sort of. It's not a cascaded converter. So it's
yes, sir. Two-level converter.
Yeah.
They are using. So what is the need of soft switching, sir?
Yeah. So okay, let me try.
How to do soft switching for switches?
Correct. So Soft switching depends whether you have IGBT or silicon carbide MOSFET. So if you have silicon carbide MOSFET or any MOSFET of that sort, what you have is you have a parasitic capacitor
Okay.
with you call it the output parallel capacitor. So what happens is if you have a certain voltage over there while switching, so your current will slowly rise, and there'll be that what you call as the crisscross losses. So voltage coming down, current rising, so you have a switching loss there, right? Now if you make that capacitor discharge before switching, so then you can have a zero voltage switching. So your voltage will first become zero, then your current will rise. So there is no V into I that is happening. So V is zero when you are switching. So I is rising. So then you can avoid the switching losses at turn on. Similarly, at turn off, you can do that. But for IGBTs, what you need to do is in IGBTs, you do not have that external or the parasitic capacitor as MOSFET, but there you have the reverse recovery losses. In that case, you need to make the switching as zero current switching. So you need to have the current zero. So the reverse current will not flow and it won't cause additional losses. So during switching, you should ensure that your current is zero before you turn on the gate signal.
Okay.
So these are the two. So you're from MTech or?
Sir, MTech Power Electronics.
Okay, so are you in first year?
Sir, second year, sir. Final
Oh,
year.
are you power electronics? Your project is in?
Yes, sir, my project is about the solid state transformer only.
Oh, then you should go and read Nedmohan or Ericsson book now because you need to know about soft switching well, right?
Yes, sir, I require that.
Yeah.
Soft switching.
Okay, so you are under whom as guide?
Dr. D. Srinivasa Rao, sir.
D. Srinivasa Rao. Okay. So he's from Roorkee, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, sure. If you're interested, we can communicate later.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so are there any more questions or we are slightly over time, so I don't want to be between you and your lunch.
I think there are no more
So
questions.
should you guys go for lunch?
Yes, sir, we can close the day. Thank you, sir.
Sure, then maybe we call it a day and keep in touch. Have a good, holidays.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.